Hey everybody, welcome back to Moving Forward. I'm Jennifer J, and I'm really glad you're joining me again. Today I am going to be in the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 1 and 2, and verse 11. So Matthew is in the New Testament, so about that far through your Bible, a little bit more than halfway on your right-hand side. Matthew is the first book of the New Testament. So I'm going to read to you because it's just 3 verses. I'm going to read it. And it says, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him.'" And then skip to verse 11. And it says, "And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh." And so a few things, this was from my pastor's sermon this morning at Pilgrim Rest, but a few things that he brought out that I thought were really good. The Greek word for child in that, so it says in verse 11, "And they saw the young child with Mary." The Greek word for child in that sentence means a child about 1 to 2 years old. So he wasn't a baby in a manger anymore when the wise men got there. And he did bring up, travel was by foot or by camel or by donkey or whatever. It wasn't in an airplane or mass transit, right? So they had come from a long ways. He said probably 1,000 miles. Struck me that maybe it was 1,200 miles. But then he said where they went. So they went to King Herod. Wise men from the east went to King Herod and said, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews?" And in verse 3, which we didn't read, but in verse 3 it says, "When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled." And he told him, when you find him, come back and tell me where you found him. So he was concerned, but why did they go to King Herod to look for him? And I had never thought about that, but Pastor said, he's a king, and where are kings usually found? They're usually found in the palace, right? So that could be a good reason why they went to the palace looking for the king. But then that is not where he was, and he was at his home. And so they did bring gifts to him. It says gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and a lot of people know about that. But Pastor said that they brought another gift, and what was that fourth gift? And it was the thing they brought him very first. Before they gave him any of the material gifts, they worshiped him. They bowed down their face to the ground and worshiped him for who he was. And that is the first thing we should do when we come before him, come in his presence. We need to bow down and worship him. He did mention that, they saw his face and bowed down and worshiped him. We don't see his face, and we don't have to wait till we get to church. We can worship him wherever we are. We can worship him here. We can worship him at the grocery store. We can worship him in the car, wherever we are. So that's one difference between us. They did wait till they were there in his presence, but that's the first thing they did was worship him. Then they gave him gifts. And the gold, frankincense, and myrrh are not something I'm going to highlight today, but I did do a study on that once. And I remember the myrrh was a popular thing to use for burial. They would pack spices and things in with the bodies. They didn't embalm like we do today. But that was something that as they prepared the body for burial. So it was interesting that those are the things they gave him, were things resembling knowing that he was born to die. So that was an interesting, but not part of today's sermon. He said the Greek word meant a child 1 to 2 years old. So when they finally found him, he was 1 to 2 years old, and that they had gone to the palace to find him. And he said that they were intentional. They were intentional about what they were doing. I loved that he said that, because that's one of the words. I don't remember if I told you guys last time I recorded if intentional is one of the words I was looking at for 2025. I know I talked about my vision board. but intentional is one of the words that I'm looking at. And he said it today. He said, be intentional, be purposeful. So with your worship, be intentional about it. Make sure it's going to happen. He challenged us for 2025, and I'm going to challenge you. In 2025, what if you did 5 minutes at least 5 times a week? 5 minutes, 5 times a week. That would be 25 minutes for the year of 2025. 25 minutes a week of worshiping God. It would just be meditation and worship. Just 5 minutes a day, 5 times a week. Can you do it? If you're willing to sacrifice and sign up and say, I'm going to do that, please put it in the comments. Let me know. We'll all hold each other accountable. But I think that's a great thing that we're gonna start for 2025 at our church, and I hope that you will join us. I also hope you guys have a great 2025 and a great new year. Please drink responsibly if you do drink, and be very careful on New Year's Eve. We plan to go to church. We're having a watch night service at our church. It should be amazing. So we're looking forward to bringing in the new year with Jesus Christ our King and worshiping Him. And I hope that you have something like that you can do in your town. If you don't, know that wherever you are, you can fall on your face and worship Him. And so bring in the new year with Jesus by your side. I hope you guys have a great one. I'll look forward to your comments, see who's going to do that with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.